Hello everyone, Happy New Year as the year 2022 gets going. I do have a lot planned for the channel in the upcoming months, but to start the year off, I'd like to talk about some things that I hope come out in 2022, unannounced things as far as the beginning of January is concerned, and it'll be two videos. In this one, we'll talk briefly about video games that I really hope to see this year and things that there is a slim possibility, not, things that are just so out there there's no way they're happening, but things that I think could possibly come out this year. I'm excited for a couple of releases that we know are coming out this year. Sooner, the new Chocobo Racing looks great. Really love the first one on PS1, and the next God of War, likely this fall. But ones that have not been announced that I think could still possibly come this year, the things that I would like to see the most come out this year. One would be Persona 3 and 4 on the Switch and or the PS4, and I still think there's a possibility of those coming as we're still in the middle of the Persona 25th anniversary celebration. I think those are the two most likely things to come out still. Really hope that happens. Another thing would be Black Myth Wukong. It's possible that could come out by the end of this year. I think it might be more of a 2023 game, but that would be amazing if it came out this year. That is one I would really want to see. And another big title that might be a 2023, but I really hope will be this year, is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. I loved Part 1. It blew away all my expectations. I fell in love with it immediately. I've played through it several times already. And I want to play, the first thing I'm going to play on PS5 when we get one, likely this year, will be Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. I love that game. I not only enjoyed it and it surpassed anything I ever hoped it would be, but it really reinvigorated my love for Final Fantasy VII in general, and Final Fantasy really, because I haven't enjoyed a Final Fantasy since 12 on the PS2. That was the last one I really enjoyed. And Final Fantasy up to that point was my favorite video game franchise since the NES. That's what I started on, my first RPG, the first Final Fantasy. And I fell out of love with the series, and it reinvigorated my love for the entire franchise. So I'm really looking forward to Part 2. I think it's going to be amazing, and I hope it's this year. Again, might be a 2023, but I hope it's this year. The last thing for video games that I really want to see this year, this could potentially be the year of Xenoblade. It could be a huge year for this franchise. Monolith Soft is a large company constantly growing within Nintendo ever since they have become associated with Nintendo. They have been growing in size and helping out with, you'll see their logo on a ton of different Nintendo games as they come out. They are a huge part of that company and a lot of their releases, including Breath of the Wild and upcoming Breath of the Wild 2 they've been working on a lot. And Nintendo has stated many times how they want to grow the Xenoblade brand, so that and Fire Emblem are their two premier exclusive RPG franchises. I think this is the year where they could go all in. With everything that is kind of rumored / leaked and talked about, this is definitely the year that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out. Every time a Nintendo Direct comes out, just wait, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 trailer, when's it coming? Because we know it's coming. That is definitely coming this year. I would be shocked if it didn't. It's almost a guarantee. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 this year. I think maybe that could be later in the year, because I'm hoping that the latest rumors are true, that there could be a Xenoblade spin-off game also coming this year. And my hope, based on things that Koei Tecmo have said in relation to their ongoing franchise-based, Dynasty Warriors type series, and they're doing Zelda, and they've done Gundam games before, and the Dragon Quest games are great, and it's been stated a couple times they'd love to do a Xenoblade, and that would be amazing. I would love to see a Xeno Warriors game come out this year. That would be amazing. And there's always the possibility hanging there of Xenoblade Chronicles X coming out, and more as people kind of contemplate Xenoblade Chronicles X, and without spoiling anything for anybody, the ending is a cliffhanger. I don't see Nintendo investing enough into Xenoblade Chronicles X to port it over and automatically greenlight a sequel plus Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and everything, I think it's more likely that if we do actually finally get the Xenoblade Chronicles X port to the Nintendo Switch, that it will be a larger scale project than we've been initially assuming, and maybe that's part of why it's been taking so long, is that maybe it'll be, reworked in some ways to include more of an ending, to include more extra content, more like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Switch, with an entire extra, fairly lengthy extra experience added after the fact for the game. Maybe something like that will be added to Xenoblade Chronicles X to wrap it up, like a 10 to 20 hour experience, some very, that type of thing, like Future Connected. That could definitely be possible. So it is entirely possible that there could be 3 Xenoblade related games coming out in 2022. It is entirely possible, and that would be a huge brand building thing. And if they want Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to be a massive success, a great way of doing that, we have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torna on the Switch, which both need to be reprinted, by the way. Like, come on, Nintendo. Then if you get X on the Switch with an extra chapter that somehow connects it to 1 and 2, and then 3 is a culmination of everything at the end of the year, and during that long wait you have a build-up with a spin-off game, a Xenoblade Warriors game. Like, that would be incredible. That would be huge. If you had that lead-up with all those games, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would end up being a huge end-of-the-year title. So I think that's entirely possible. That is what I want to see happen next year. I think this could be a massive year for my particular interests in video games.